disgruntled Arby's worker throws grease on a customer who complained their order was cold. A youth football coach in Texas is shot dead during a fight over the game's score. A 66-year-old man is beaten to death with a metal pole in broad daylight. And a full-on brawl breaks out at the happiest place on earth over a dispute in line. What the hell is going on? Why do people have such a short fuse these days? I have seen headline after headline where folks just feel rules don't apply to them, and if they don't like something, they have the right to intimidate, verbally abuse, or even physically assault the other person. Why are people filled with so much rage? That's what we're talking about today. Take a look.
I don't have time to wait on the food again.
Stop yelling at my other manager, because that's what I'm calling for.
My family and I went to this restaurant to get ranch dressing. When he walked in there, he started waiting a little bit for his food, then he got more agitated. It was pretty scary.
Whether it's an increase in the volatile society or the anger management issues, everyone is struggling right now.
Customers are a lot more impatient now. There was also another customer spitting at our employees.
Surveillance video allegedly shows 55-year-old Van Phu Bui put gloves on, then without provocation, punch another man so hard that he falls to the ground. 52-year-old Jesus Cortez needed brain surgery for his injuries.
21-year-old Savannah Nakarati was shot and killed in a road rage incident.
The man's accused of shooting at another driver during a road rage incident. Police say Deborah's 9-year-old daughter was with him in the car.
I am the umpire from Mississippi that was assaulted leaving a softball game. A mom got angry at a call that I made and punched me in the face. I really think we've lost a little bit of our humanity towards each other.
That was Christy, a youth softball umpire. She says she was punched in the face after she ejected a mother from a 12-year-old softball game. Now, also joining me today is Dr. James Kimmel, Jr. Now, he's a lecturer in psychiatry at Yale School of Medicine. He researches revenge cravings, justice addiction, and violence prevention, as well as mental health, and he maintains a legal practice in healthcare law. He's going to explain why revenge and violent behavior does seem to be at an all-time high. But first, let's hear how Christy got this shiner that you've seen. So sorry that happened to you.
Thank you.
That's ridiculous.
Yes.
So you're calling a softball game.
Yes.
And one of the mothers, one of the parents, who, by the way, was wearing a Mother of the Year T-shirt.
Yeah, correct.
And she was doing what from the stands? What was she doing?
She disagreed with a call that I made on second base.
Just a call?
A call.
So it wasn't like you were blowing the whole game in her view. She just didn't like the call.
She didn't like that call.
Was her daughter the runner or the baseman?
I do not know.
You don't even know?
No, I have no idea.
Okay.
So I made the call at second base, and she immediately walked up to the fence and started screaming across the field, profanities at me, cussing me. And I ejected her, asked that she leave, and she turned around and looked at me and said, "When you come off that field, I'm going to slap the..."
And you thought, no. I mean, you didn't even think about it, right?
No, I didn't think another thing about it. We continued the game. We played about 2 more innings. I walked off the field. I was about 3 steps off the field, and she was there. Said, "Now what do you have to say to me, bitch?" and punched me.
You actually suffered a contusion and nerve damage in your left eye.
Yes.
So what happened after she punched you?
She immediately ran to the parking lot after she punched me, and one of the Parks and Rec employees that was there chased her to the parking lot and got her tag number, and he was on the phone with the police, and they pulled her over and arrested her shortly after.
I said this is really bad right now. Has it gotten worse since
Yes.
the pandemic and all?
Yes, I definitely think so. You know, I've been doing this for 10 years, and we've always had the general heckling, you know, you suck, Blue, where's your glasses, where's your phone, you got a bunch of missed calls, that kind of thing. Even invitations to the parking lot, you know, to get your tail beat after the game, but never been physically assaulted walking off the field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's just absurd. Now, Doctor, there seems to be a lack of inhibition right now, more so than before. Why do you think that is?
I think it is true because America is becoming a justice-addicted nation. And I use the word justice instead of revenge because we all sort of wince away from the idea of revenge, and we use justice when we really mean revenge now. And enables us to do things that we wouldn't otherwise do because we believe that we're engaged in some higher order activity, something that's elevated like justice seeking when it really is retaliation.
Okay, so somebody says, I've been victimized. I've been put upon, somebody has wronged me, so I'm just out to level the playing field. I'm
just getting justice.
Yeah.
She saw herself, and people who are perpetrators almost always see themselves as victims first, seeking justice. But the new thing, Dr. Phil, the new science is why we do this, and neuroscience is telling us that we actually are doing it because it triggers the same addiction pathway that's triggered for substance abuse disorders, which is to say we get high from doing it. We crave retaliation when somebody wrongs us. That's the trigger. And then we seek retaliation to make ourselves feel better and kind of heal that pain from the wrong. And in this case, the science would tell us, felt wronged by the call and craved retaliation to make herself feel better from that call and carried out that craving with no control and ended up with an assault.
So, not to get super clinical here, but these nutballs that are ripping stuff off the wall and doing all of this stuff, they think they're entitled to do this. And if you could look inside their brains, you'd see this big rush of dopamine at the time, which gives them a high at the time because they think they're justice warriors.
That's right.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't even call them, nutballs all, because it can happen to anyone.
Well,
This
in the
can
moment,
affect anyone in the
they're
moment.
behaving
We're all
like a
vulnerable
nutball.
to this.
Yeah,
right.
but in the moment,
they're in the
behaving
moment,
like
they're a true
nutball.
nutball. That's right.
Yeah.
Because they're acting on their craving. That's
Yeah,
right.
at the
She
time.
even posted on social media after she bonded out from jail that night, you know, that this was just a misdemeanor that she was going to beat. She wasn't going to be disrespected. She don't know what we thought, that kind of thing.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk more about this and the pattern, because this gets into a vicious circle. Next, a man literally took matters into his own hands and trashed a restaurant when they got his order wrong. Well, they did it twice. Was he just hangry? Or were there other reasons that people's fuses are so short these days? We're going to get into this next.
I am the one that recorded the registered incident.
Hey, stop yelling at my other manager because that's, no, it's uncalled for.
I am the one that recorded the registered incident. He got agitated, and then he grabbed the register, ripped it off, just slammed it down on the ground, and then he picked it up and he sent it. He threw it out the window.
Well, you've seen it. You watch the news. You go on social media. You've seen it in headlines. People are losing their cool over everything from cheese fries to chicken wings. Can you believe all this is going on? It's become dangerous to be both a customer and an employee at restaurants these days because you just never know what you're going to get. Now, joining us on Skype is Theron. As we just saw, his quick trip to a fast food restaurant to grab some ranch ended with a customer hurling a cash register out the window. And at that point, you never know where it's going to stop. So, Theron, you were there when the video that we just saw, you took it with your cell phone, right?
Yeah. Yes, I did.
What did you think when this guy starts going Incredible Hulk on you?
Well, honestly, I didn't know what he was going to do. I just wanted to protect myself and record in case anything did happen like this, or if he was going to attack the customers or the employees. You never know nowadays what's going to happen because of COVID or however, people are angry and agitated even more nowadays.
You know, he threw that out the window. Was your family outside that window?
Actually, yeah, they were. There's a parking lot right there, and they seen the register go through the window. So I had my family, my kids, and my best friend in the car.
Now, did you say anything to him?
Yeah, I was trying to calm him down. I was telling him I was like, hey, you don't want the cops called. You don't want to get in trouble all over just food. But after the incident, I actually found out it's one of my best friend's cousin. And very unfortunate things that happen in his life. And it's sad nowadays because it's embarrassing to talk about people's feelings and their pain nowadays.
Was he arrested?
I don't know.
What were you going to get?
Just ranch.
Did you get it?
Yes, I did.
Okay, just want to be sure. And,
right.
You know, here's the problem. With what you're saying, Doctor, this gets into a vicious circle, right? Because you're now prosecuting.
Yes.
So now she feels victimized because she has the audacity to object to getting punched in the face and prosecutes her. So now she's the victim again because you've prosecuted her.
If someone did tell me that she was going to be suing me for emotional distress because she went viral and there were some not so nice things said about her on Facebook, Twitter, whatever. So.
Yeah. Well, you know, there's I spent a lot of time in the litigation arena, and there's what we always call the but-for concept. There's always that first link in the chain, and but for her punching you in the face, you wouldn't have prosecuted, and she wouldn't have gotten attention and gotten name called. So you just have to go back to the but-for test. But for you punching me in the face, you wouldn't have this emotional distress. Now, from hot wings to hot dogs, customers seem to be losing their cool at the drop of a hat. That's what I'm concerned about. And this goes from bad to worse. But these days, restaurant owner Dat says he struggles to even keep employees because of how unruly customers have become. Here's what he has to say.
So that day, that customer had actually ordered a hot dog and some cheese fries, but our cashier messed up on her order, and we ended up giving her the refund, but for whatever reason, she was still agitated by it. That customer threw a whole cup of soft drink at her. Cashier was a big shock to see what had happened. It's actually not the first time something this extreme has happened to us. It's definitely a lot harder these days to keep good employees because the kind of abuse that restaurant employees take.
Well, Dad's with us today, and he owns several Umai savory hot dogs in California. And how do you keep employees when this is happening?
It's definitely tough. I mean, especially because we have like a really young staff. And, you know, nowadays, the staff is not, you know, they're taught a little differently. You know, they're, you know, things on social media and all that stuff kind of tells you, you know, to speak up for yourself. You know, me being a little bit older than my staff, I kind of try to teach my staff to kind of be respectful to customers. But then at the same time, when you got grown adults coming in and, you know, calling, you know, 15, 16-year-olds bitch and stupid, you know, this and that, and it's tough. It's tough. And, you know, so it's a little battle and a struggle to kind of balance that out.
Kind of stretches the old customers always right adage, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely, for sure.
These vengeful attacks aren't only happening in restaurants, they're happening on airplanes, in our schools, and on the road. People everywhere are saying they're afraid to leave the house because they fear they're just one honk away from being driven off the road by an angry driver. We'll be right back.
Social networking platforms has made it very easy to turn grievances into contagion. In human history, we've never had, Dr. Phil, anything quite like this.
I want to introduce you to Tianis Jones. She's 22. She was a McMahon. That's right. She had ordered fish fillet, a Happy Meal with a chocolate shake, sweet tea, and a Sprite. So she arrives at the McDonald's to pick up her order, but they confused some things. She got McMahon. She dialed 911. Did you hear what I said? So things went from bad to worse. She went behind the counter and grabbed the cups and started throwing them around. I don't know if she was like 2 fries short of a Happy Meal, but she created a McMess. And she acted like a McNut. But you know what she ended up? A McBurglar. When she went behind that counter and hit the employees with stuff, she committed a burglary and an assault, which is a first-degree felony. On the way out, she twerked her way out of the store. You can't make this up.
Well, not only are people getting mad over Happy Meals, there's also been a sharp increase in unruly passengers on airplanes and violent attacks on teachers and staff. Now, this has kind of a contagion effect, right?
That's exactly right. 3 things seem to have occurred here over the last 10 years. You pointed this out at the beginning of the show, that this seems to be progressing. One is we as citizens in America and around the world are experiencing an increasing number of grievances that we have to manage, things that we think are unjust. This includes, racial grievances, the climate, political grievances, the pandemic. All of this is an added burden that we're normally not accustomed to experiencing. At the same time, the advent of social networking platforms has made it very easy to turn grievances into contagion. If you think you've been wronged, you're now able on social networking platforms to spread that across millions of people instantaneously. They can spread it as well. And the platforms are ingenious enough that they allow you to engage in that retaliatory behavior right from your computer or smartphone at any instant in time, 24/7. In human history, we've never had, Dr. Phil, anything quite like this where we could experience and gratify revenge cravings at will, almost at no cost to ourselves. And then the third thing that's changed is that we had somebody occupy the presidency who's very much used that platform to spread his own grievances and to encourage others to retaliate. And that experience of a person in such a high persuasive office himself engaging and encouraging this type of behavior, that's such an important office. It leads a lot of people to engage in whatever that leader wants them to do. And that as well, this coalescence of these 3 things has resulted in what I call a justice-addicted nation.
In 2021, there were more incidences on airlines than in all the history of record-keeping of the FAA before 2021. Now, also joining me virtually is Dr. Melanie Burkholder, a licensed professional clinical counselor. She has patients of all ages, children and adults, and says she has seen an increase in anger amongst everyone over the past few years. Doctor, thank you for joining us. I appreciate it.
Dr. Phil, thanks for having me today. I really appreciate being able to discuss this very important topic. And just, I feel so bad for the umpire that's on your stage, and just the idea that she was just umping a Little League game and got knocked out. I mean, it's unbelievable to think about, but I do agree that society has really come out of COVID with a lower level of functioning than they had previously. And through this isolation that we've experienced after the lack of connectivity with other human beings over the last couple of years, after covering our faces without being able to see our facial expressions over the last couple of years, people are behaving differently.
Do you think people's coping energies have been depleted?
I think every energy level at all sources are depleted at this point. I really think that when you think of the social emotional learning and the way you behave and interact with each other, we're not seeing that because we weren't able to do it for a couple of years. So it's very possible people just sort of forgot how to act, forgot how to behave.
I think we've gotten to a place in society where we're violating one of the most fundamental principles of psychology, is that you just don't reward bad behavior.
That's right.
You just don't let people get away with bad behavior. And we're releasing criminals, just putting them right back out on the street. There's not any accountability. And when we come back, I want to ask you about this concept of immediate gratification, and I want to ask you about this lowering the threshold of frustration tolerance, because when do you go into this loop that causes people to make really bad decisions that would otherwise be rational human beings? Now, there's also issues of road rage, gun deaths, injuries. This has all doubled since pre-pandemic times. The roads are becoming more dangerous than ever before, and we're going to talk about a really tragic example of that when we come back.
Tonight, we're learning new details in that terrible road rage shooting in California that left a kindergartner dead.
Mr. Harris is a complete danger to the community.
Strong words from the judge today for 24-year-old Marcus Ediz. He's charged with killing 6-year-old Aiden Leos on a California freeway. Prosecutors say he cannot control his temper. New court documents reveal Ediz was angry after being flipped off by the boy's mother, so he took a shot at her vehicle. The bullet struck Aiden, strapped in a booster seat on his way to kindergarten.
As you just saw, a 6-year-old child lost his life on his way to kindergarten because someone was so enraged after getting the middle finger while driving that they shot at the car he was in. Somebody flipped him off. So he took out a gun and shot at the car, and a little boy was dead. Now, Stephanie says her boyfriend, David, was the perpetrator in a road rage incident last year. She says his rage cost him his life. So, Stephanie, first, I'm very sorry for your loss.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Now, what happened?
He had had a completely normal day, was a normal morning. He left work, and on his way home, there was some sort of altercation between him and another driver. By altercation, I mean, I'm not sure if they pulled out in front of him, but something happened on the road. It spilled over into a gas station. Dave followed the man in his truck and got out and had a knife. He opened the door to the gentleman's truck, and the gentleman shot him in self-defense, and he passed away as a result of that incident.
Now, that was not at all the personality of Dave, right?
No, he was the sweetest. He was the sweetest person. He was very intelligent. He's very kind. We lived a really normal, happy life. We had a great relationship. And he was just overall a really wonderful person.
And you guys had been through some pretty rough life events leading up to that.
We dealt with job losses and money issues, people passing away. I had been let go of my job, and the only place that we could find a job for both of us, or that we both could in our field, was going to be in Texas. So we were looking at moving from South Carolina to Texas, and we unfortunately did not make it.
You said you think he may have been cut off or something and was tailgating this guy, and he followed him off the exit into the gas station.
Something like that is what happened. It was very trivial and not something that's worth losing your life over.
Yeah, well, but we all get irritated on the road because all drivers except us are idiots, right? I mean, if you've been irritated on the road, raise your hand. I mean, people who do stupid stuff, right? And they always do it when we're in a hurry, right? They're apparently getting paid by the hour, so they're moving like snails when we've got important stuff to do. So I always say they apparently don't know who we think we are. So they get in front of us and cut us off and that sort of thing. But typically we don't melt down to the point that we do something where we actually put ourselves in harm's way. And yeah, I've been asked a lot why people do have road rage or why they do lose it when they get in situations like this. And my theory about this is that we don't get upset at what happens in life. We get upset when our expectations are violated. It's not what happens, it's what we expect gets violated. So if we expect A and get B, then we react. We're upset. If we expect B and get B, then we don't react, right? And if you go out there and you expect traffic to open like the Red Sea so you can flow right down, then it doesn't happen. Your expectation has been violated, and so you're upset. We have to adjust our expectations. There seems to be an increase in acceptance of violence as well. We'll be right back. The increase in revenge crimes and violence in general has grown since pre-pandemic years. I mean, the statistics are undeniable. Can it be blamed on the few years of isolation and re-entry into society, or have people just gone wild with entitlement and it's coming out as rage? Dave, she says, at times would get irritated and immature, but in this moment, you say his brain was hijacked, and it fits your explanation perfectly in that he clearly felt that he had been aggrieved. Somebody had done something that his perception was he had been victimized, right?
That's right.
And so he sought justice.
Correct.
So what happened to his brain at that point?
So what happened to Dave's brain is, and that's why I say this can happen to anyone. There are only a small proportion of people in society who commit crimes that are really sociopaths. The rest of us, what happens to normal people that become violent is this process where there's a feeling or an experience of I've been hurt or I've been wronged. And Dave no doubt felt that. We've all felt that in our car. That starts this same addiction process that starts the craving for a drug addict to crave heroin. And it is and can be equally or more powerful. But the difference is a heroin addict will stick a needle into their own arm to make themselves feel better. And a revenge addict will have to stick a bullet or a knife into somebody else to make themselves feel better. That's what true hijacking of the brain really means. We offer no training whatsoever in how to manage the most dangerous craving you'll ever experience, which is the desire to retaliate when somebody wrongs you. That is the one that will lead to and justifies every form of torture and act of violence since the beginning of human history. The story of Cain and Abel is not only the story of the first human murder, it is the story of justice addiction. Cain was motivated by retaliation against Abel and against God in that story, and he murdered his own brother.
And it happens, when it happens, the person experiences pleasure, right?
That is correct.
And Dr. Burkholder, you say that this is the problem with immediate gratification, where we've gotten to where this delayed gratification is not something people embrace in this day and time. They want it, and they want it right now.
Yes, sir. And I do agree about the expectations that we have for ourselves and where we meet those and how we might not and we might fall short. But I think that has been part of the problem through COVID, because the expectations were all over the map. The response to the lockdowns and everything that happened, you might have gone into it with a very high functioning individual, but with all of the inconsistencies and not knowing what to expect, you may come out on the other side slightly changed. And that's another thing is that I think is so important, is that we are so we've been conditioned to get instant gratification, to get our information as soon as we need it. It's at our fingertips with the internet. We can find out anything we need to know long gone are the days of the Encyclopedia Britannica searches, right? So we can find out anything we need to know instantly. And so that delayed gratification is not being fed. And when it's a behavior that's not being fed, it's sure to die off, right? We have to make sure that we're rewarding good behavior and having consequences for bad behavior. And there are simply no consequences for online behavior. And that's unfortunately bleeding over into society and how we interact with each other in person.
Leo, you had a friend that got punched in a road rage situation, right?
Yeah, my friend Beverly had come to a stop, and then light turned green, and the car in front of her didn't go, and she honked her horn, and then at the following stoplight, the car that was in front of her, she got out of the car, and my friend had her window down and got punched in the face.
I'm going to roll those windows up. Next, what can be done to bring civility back? I mean, is that even possible? And I want to hear what you guys think about this. We'll be right back. Okay, I'm back, and we're talking about the short fuse in America. And listen, this is a reality. The statistics don't lie. And clearly, we're having more confrontations, more incidences. It happens in healthcare. It happens in human resources, where people are more involved one-on-one. We're seeing it on airlines. We're seeing it in road rage. We're seeing it in retail and food service. I think nationally I've seen numbers between 33 and 50,000 people quit your job because they just said, no, it's just not worth it. I'm tired of listening to it. I'm tired of having to run to my car and lock the doors over a 10-year-old game. I mean, what do y'all think about this? I mean, are you witnessing it? Are you experiencing it out there? Are you seeing it in grocery stores and parking lots and all? So you are seeing it. I'm sorry? No respect anymore. Yeah. What do you think it's going to take? What's it going to take for us to get back to some degree of civility? Anybody have a thought?
The problem, in my opinion, is that it not only is with us individually, but it's with our leaders. In the last few years, the way that the government has behaved. And it used to be that people respected each other regardless of their belief one way or the other. And now it's my way or the highway.
Hate crimes are up. I mean, we saw this guy come out of a restaurant and punch somebody from behind, just sucker punched him. You guys saw that the other day? This guy, watch this. Now, he had gloves on, so it wasn't that he wasn't thinking about this. He knocked this guy out. The guy hit his head on the pavement. He wound up having to have brain surgery because this guy just walked up out of nowhere, punched him, sucker punched him from behind. Oh, by the way, he was arrested and released a few hours later. And here's what we know. August 2020, July 2020, March 2019, March 2022, August 2021, April 2021. This guy, it wasn't like he wasn't known to the system. They arrested him and let him out a few hours later so he could go punch somebody else in the head. There was such an outcry that they rearrested him. So, well, since everybody's going to get pissed off, we'll rearrest him. What the hell? You've actually developed an app that helps people work through this abstractly rather than in actuality. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, this is an app called the Miracle Court app. And the Miracle Court app allows you to put on trial anybody who's ever wronged or mistreated or betrayed you in any way for anything at any time. It's a free app. So what it helps you do is gratify your revenge craving, because you hear it in this audience. We want people to be held accountable. We want them to be locked up. We want them to be put on trial. Anytime you're wrong, that's, of course, exactly what you want. Well, this app allows that to happen immediately. The justice system's slow. You can't get to court. It's very costly to do. This is a way where you can actually experience putting the person who wronged you in your life on trial immediately, but you play all the roles. So you play the victim, the prosecutor, the defendant, the judge, the jury, the jailer, and if necessary, even the executioner in your imagination. But in this process of going through these steps, you release, you experience and gratify your revenge craving safely. You do it in your mind. You don't have to do it in the real world, it turns out, because revenge cravings are only up here in your head. Your memory of a wrong that happened a day or a year ago is only in your head. Your desire to retaliate for this wrong is only inside your mind. So we can go in there and release that safely, and you can imagine punishing the person who wronged you in a very vivid, real, authentic way. But then in the last step, after you've experienced all this, and that revenge craving is now out of your way because it's been eating your guts out for most of your life. When that's out of your way, then in the last step, you become the judge of your own life. And when you become the judge of your own life, you decide whether to set yourself free, and you realize you had the power all along to free yourself. And that comes through not seeking justice in the form of revenge and ultimately forgiveness. But not forgiveness, never forgiveness as a gift to the person who wronged you, as a gift to yourself as victim of setting yourself free and healing yourself.
This gives you a process of working through something. So, well, we're out of time for today. I want to thank all of my guests. Special thanks to Dr. James Kimball Jr. and Dr. Melanie Burkholder for participating in this very thoughtful and timely conversation. Talk to your kids about this. Tell them to walk away. You really need to be situationally aware and think about things in the long term. Look, for more information about today's episode, or if you'd like to share your story, log on to drphil.com. And if you want to add your voice to the conversation, go to Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. You know where to find me. And if you're in the Los Angeles area or you plan to be, we'd love to have you join us right up here on our stage in our studio audience. The tickets are free. Just go to my website, drphil.com, click on Be Part of the Audience for all the details. Don't forget to follow and subscribe to my podcast, Fill in the Blanks, where I provide what I think is critical information on some of the most important issues that we're facing today. And also listen to Robin's podcast, I've Got a Secret. You can check both of them out on Apple Podcast or wherever you listen to podcasts. Stay safe, be situationally aware. We'll see you next time. Thanks for being here.